Everyone, welcome to this next speaker. It's Robert Bly from New Jersey, actually from Montville, New Jersey. And I really think Robert is going to have an amazing talk today about cheekily, a little bit funnily, making copywriting not suck. And what I like about, first of all, just having Robert be a speaker here is that he's been doing this for a long time, and he's sort of seen copywriting be successful, but he's also seen copywriting and all the failures that bad copy can have. So a little bit of background about Robert, Mr. Bly. He's from Montville, and he's been working in helping people write better copy for more than 30 years. Business to business, high tech, and something that used to be called direct response, where people are actually sending pieces of mail through the mail to your front door. He's written several books, and one of the books that has received very good reviews and is used by a lot of writers is actually called The Copywriter's Handbook. And that has the tagline, "Step-by-step guide to writing copy that sells." So I think it's going to be a great talk today. I'm really happy to have Robert as a speaker at the Content Marketing Virtual Summit. And I'm going to hand it over now to Robert to give his talk, and look forward to everyone getting the value from having Robert share today at the conference. So welcome, Robert. And I think one of our assistants will be sharing the slides and playing the slides as Robert speaks. So go ahead and share the slides now, and we're going to kick it off.
All right, well, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate your inviting me. So my background, as was mentioned, is that I've been a copywriter and also a content writer, doing this 60 hours a week, 51 weeks a year for 40 years. So it's not that I'm a great writer or I'm not that smart, but if you do it that much, you have to learn, you have to be stupid not to have learned a few tricks of the trade along the way. And what I want to do in the next few minutes is share some of those tricks as it relates to writing and particularly content writing. Sophie, let's go to the next. So I said why most content marketing sucks and how to make yours look better. And the first part is, I think most content writing I see, most articles I see on the internet and elsewhere, they're not that good. And why? There's two major reasons in particular for content. The first is what I call content pollution, or I've also named it Google goulash. And typically you get a writer who has no expertise in the subject matter. The client assigns to the writer, write an article on raising tomatoes. Writer knows nothing about it. He Googles raising tomatoes, finds 3 to 5 articles, and does a cut and paste job out of those to cobble together content. And it's for a number of reasons kind of worthless. You're not saying anything new. You're not saying anything that already hasn't been said and isn't available to anyone. You're just doing it for the sake of putting together a piece of content. And as we'll look at in a few minutes, it has little value, and who needs it really? Because that kind of article is only information, and information by itself is a commodity. And I'll show you what is not a commodity in writing, but information is pretty much a commodity in this day and age of the internet, the web, and search engines. So number one, why there's so much bad content written is Google goulash, this lazy way of writing. The other reason, and I hate to pick on a source, are Upwork and other freelance writing job sites. And I know I'm going to get in trouble for bashing these, but I'm going to do it. I have used them because I have a small, in addition to being a freelance copywriter, I have a small information marketing business, and for some of our information products, we hire writers. And I've tried hiring writers on Upwork and other sites. And what I find is the quality is not of their work, and their skill level is just not what it could be. I'll give you an example. I have a site devoted to chemistry. It's called mychemset.com. And I hired a writer from Upwork to write an article for my site, short article on careers in chemistry. She handed in the article very quickly, and I started to read it. And the lead sentence, and I kid you not, was chemistry is a good career for people who are fond of atoms. And enough said. I mean, you can't imagine, I could never imagine handing that in and being serious to one of my clients, but she thought it was okay to hand to me. And as you look at the rates they're paid, their compensation is minimal, and on these sites, the low price usually wins. A lot of clients on these sites are price shoppers and not value shoppers. So the second reason is the rise of Upwork and other freelance writer bidding sites, that and Google Goulash. So that's why, those are the two major reasons why, and there are others, but those are the two major reasons why so much content and so much content marketing is very mediocre, or as I said, it sucks. So what makes for good content, what I would call A-level content marketing? 7 things. Number 1, the content is strategic. It has some message or marketing purpose or function. Maybe it is designed specifically to increase conversion rates, or to build or to change the market's perception of a company or its product, but it has a strategic purpose. It's not just quote unquote information, which again has very little value. Number 2, it fits in well with the sales funnel. A lot of us use sales funnels. There's a company that does nothing but that, ClickFunnels. You guys, most of you have seen it. And content is among other things, is extremely useful in moving the prospect down the sales funnel. You enter at the top, when you're just curious, then you get more interested, then you start to become a qualified prospect, and the offering a piece of content at one or more steps helps accelerate the path from the beginning of the funnel, where you're just a curious inquiry, you're a browser, to the end where you're taking a definite action, whether it's to sign up for a webinar or buy a product. Number 3, content marketing increases response. My main work is as a direct response copywriter. And I have found, and also an information marketer. And I have found that when I'm selling something for money, let's say a stock market newsletter, or a dietary supplement. I do a lot of work in that field. When we offer with that a bonus, a premium of free content, it can easily increase the response rate from 10% to 100%. It can sometimes double it. And it's the same with lead generation. If I haven't done a lead generation offer I can't remember when I have done one without a free content offer. So free content dramatically increases the response rates to lead generation, as well as to direct selling online. Number 4, good content, not Google Goulash, which is very obvious when you see it, helps establish you as the expert in your niche or industry. And that is one of the strategic uses of content. People want to buy from the company that they consider the leader of the pack, or they want to buy from the consultant who they see as the recognized guru in the field. So, it establishes you as the expert. The primary method of establishing yourself as an expert is the selective release or the selective dissemination of information and content to your target market, which positions you as the expert. And that can be being on TV, having a radio show, doing a podcast. There are many different ways. Number 5, different than number 4, it educates the market. For example, if you have a certain methodology of doing things and your competitor has another one, the best or one of the strongest ways to sell is to use content to convince the market that your way is the right way. For example, years ago, pre-internet, I met a guy who specialized in, he had it was before digital, he had an ad agency, and one of the things he did a lot was speeches and presentations. And he published a booklet that he gave away to potential clients, called the 14 Key Steps in Putting Together and Giving a Great Presentation. And when you read those steps, you said, okay, I need to do this. It needs that. It needs this. So then after you read his booklet and go shopping for someone to do your presentation, what vendor meets those steps, the criteria that you now believe the best, it's him, because he set the criteria. So we call this setting the specs. If you can, in your content, teach people to shop for your type of product or service and look at in a certain way that your product, your own product, satisfies better than your competitors, that's a really strong selling technique and competitive leverage. Number 6, A-level content hits multiple learning modes. It's not all ebooks and white papers, and we'll look more about that. But people don't learn just from reading. There's other ways. Video is so popular today. People learn from watching, and we'll look at the 4 modes of learning. There are 4 basic modes of learning, and how you can appeal in your content marketing to each. And normally, you don't know, for most prospects that come to you, which is their preferred learning mode. Most people have a preferred learning mode, maybe a second choice, and one that's okay, and one that they just don't respond to. And you don't know that, so you have to, or you should, offer content in multiple that appeals to each learning mode, so everyone can absorb your content, your ideas in their own way. And number 7, which is from my background in direct response, but now is commonplace in the digital world, because measurement of marketing is so much easier, with all the analytic tools and the software, and the measurement is faster than it used to be. Measurable ROI. The idea here is, if I hire you to do a content marketing campaign for me, and I spend $1, will you make me $10? That's what I want. I want measurable, positive ROI. And that's a good way to sell your own service. Can you show that it generated measurable ROI? And there are ways to do that. Return on investment. So what are the levels of content that you're writing? There's 4 levels. At the bottom, the lowest level is to tell them why to do something. An article of that nature might be, let's say, let's make it up an example. It might be, this is a good example. A guy wrote an article for small business owners. And it gave them something like ways to promote their local business, offer local businesses. And one of the ideas was number 7, advertise your business on placemats. You know, diners and restaurants have placemats, mainly diners. Advertise your business on placemats. And it's good because people come and they read it. That's telling, and so it works. That's telling you why to do it, because it works. Then you tell them what to do. You find out locally what diners or places have placemats and which ones take advertising. You know, how do you go about creating a placemat ad and getting it placed? And that's the next step. You tell them how to do it. You show them in great detail what elements should be in a good placemat ad. It's not the same as a newspaper ad or an online ad. It's a very specialized. It sounds ridiculous, but it is a specialized field. What's the optimum size for a placemat ad? What's the best sizing level? Should it be horizontal or vertical? Should it have a photo or a drawing? What should it have, a headline or not? What information should be in there? Tell them how to do it. And then the highest level of content is done for you. Do it for them. So maybe if I was selling a course or a manual on placemat advertising, part of the book would be a swipe file at the end of 20 or 30 pages of placemat ads that I took from placemats, contacted the advertisers, got the results and said, okay, this ad, made this much, this ad did this much. And then I would analyze the ad, show what makes it work, and then give the result. So you tell them why to do something, then exactly what to do, then how to do it, which is a higher level of content. And that's as high as most content goes, but then also do it for them. Another example is a client of mine publishes a newsletter for landlords. You subscribe to it if you are a property investor, and it tells you how to manage your properties and be a landlord. So one of the articles he published was how to write an eviction letter. And the title was 7 Things You Must Have in Your Eviction Letter. And that's good. That's telling them how to do it. But what would be better? Done for you. And sure enough, on the page facing the article was a model eviction letter. Even better, more useful, that they could take and use as is or with very little adaptation. So done for you is the highest level. Now, in terms of what to do, this is an email that I sent to my list. And I was selling them an audio course on how to become a published book author. And this is what to do. It says, is there a book inside you? Do you want to write a nonfiction book and get it published? Then don't write the book. Surprising thing to say, at least not yet. Publishers don't want to read an unsolicited book manuscript from an unknown author. A lot of people say, I'll write the book and send it to McGraw-Hill or John Wiley. That is a road to failure. Instead, they'll send it back unread or toss it in the trash. What you need to do is write a book proposal. It's a 10 to 20 page sales document describing the book, and it covers, size of market, competing ideas, must follow a specific format. So I'm not telling them how to write a book proposal in this email. The product that I'm selling them tells them how to do it, but the email tells what to do. And the piece of advice they get for free, which is useful even if they don't order the product, is if I want to write a book, I shouldn't make the mistake of writing the whole book. I should just write a 10 or 20 page proposal and then attempt to take it to publishers and get someone to want to publish it. So this is a what to do example. I'm not sure what happened here. Is that a video link? I'm not sure what that. Yeah, here we go. Okay, maybe we should skip this slide because it seems like it can't be loaded, and we'll go on to the next slide. So the key to write, did you know the key to writing great content is either one of two things, is to present a new idea, which is very difficult because there aren't that many new ideas. And also when you present a new idea, sometimes people don't get it because it is new. So it's difficult to get across. The second, but that's one way to make content that's really worthwhile and useful and that engages people and gets them to pay attention. The second way to write great content is to communicate an old idea. It's not a new idea, but in a fresh, new and compelling way, in a way that it hasn't been said before. Now, if you don't do either of these, your idea is old and you're saying it the same way everyone else has said it, you're kind of wasting the reader's time by stating the known in a stale way. So why even bother? Probably you shouldn't, because it doesn't make you shine, and it's not going to be that popular with your readers, or they won't be that interested. It's not going to make the impression that you want to make. Not going to position you as an expert. So here are the 4 modes of learning. We learn by 4 ways. Number 1 is reading. You see that in the upper left corner. To the right of that is visual, which means largely video. To bottom left, we see audio. A lot of people learn just by listening. Podcasts are an example. And to the right of that is experiential, which means workshops, seminars. You learn by actually doing, by doing something hands-on. And for example, I teach an online masterclass in copywriting, and part of our program is experiential. The students write ads and other copy, and I critique and review and grade them. So we learn by doing. Now, usually most people have a favorite learning mode. Mine happens to be reading. Like if I want to learn about astronomy, I'm not really going to run to a store and buy a telescope and figure out how to use it and look up at the stars. I'm just as happy to read about astronomy in Carl Sagan's book. So reading is my preferred mode. A lot of people today, more so than ever, video. And that's been the case for a long time because people are in my generation. I'm a boomer. We were trained to like video from TV. Now you get your video online. So there's 4 modes of learning. The question is, what content can you create to appeal to people who like each of these modes? Well, reading, books, ebooks, white papers, blogs, online newsletters, e-classes, articles, obviously. Audio CDs, which are dying out, but they still exist. MP3 downloadable files or streaming files, podcasts, internet radio shows, speeches. We're not having these now because of COVID, but over the last 20 years, I've done dozens of presentations in front of groups live all over the country and all over the world. Teleconferences, webinars, it's listening, audio. Visual, DVDs, and DVDs are still good content tools, despite the fact that streaming videos are faster and easier. So DVDs, streaming videos, SlideShare, TV. Flash is no longer popular, but rich media. Infographics, comic books is a way to do it visually. Board games, companies have made board games as content to teach or involve or engage their prospects. YouTube videos, and of course, Pinterest and Instagram. And then experiential, people who like to do stuff, seminars, workshops, classes, boot camps, retreats, conferences, software they can use, demonstrations. So there are plenty of formats of content shown here that, and enough multiple ones to each of the different learning modes. So you can always give any prospect something that they would digest the best. This was a fun one. I remember I said comic books with visual and reading. I love comic books. I've been collecting them and reading them for 50 years. And I got this one day. I didn't buy it. It came to me. And as a promotion from Radio Shack, I don't know if they're still around, Tandy. And it was to promote the early, I forget the TRS-80 computer, which is a very early, primitive, simple computer. And they did it by telling a Superman story of where these two kids helped Superman defeat Lex Luthor by figuring out what to do using their computer. And a number of campaigns have been successful in comic book format. Some of them with licensed characters like Superman, that's expensive, and other ones just comics that are more generic. So this was a lot of fun. And so, you don't have to always stick with the same old. So don't say, oh, another white paper, oh, another webinar. Do something like this, or what else can you think of that's different? So when you're doing your content, you don't want it to be just words. You want to show what you're talking about. And here's a quick guide of how to show things. If you want to show what something looks like, you put a photo or illustration. If you want to show where things are located, use a map. Like if I'm talking about a company and I say, we have service centers nationwide, I show an outline map of the United States with red dots everywhere they have a service center. Exploded view, where you have the machine or whatever it is, and it shows the parts pulled away, shows how something is put together. A schematic diagram shows how something works or how it is organized. Graphs, which I love. You know what a graph is, X, Y. Y is vertical, X is horizontal, and basically they show how one thing varies as a function of another. So temperature increasing with time if you're in the hot sun. Pie chart, proportions and percentages. Bar charts if you want to compare quantities. Here's this year's sales, here's last year's sales. We're not doing so well. And tables to show a body of related data. Instead of putting it in paragraph form, if you can simplify it by putting it in a table, do so. So when you're making content offers, what works the best? Here are some characteristics of content that the more of these characteristics you have, the more people will want to download and send for and listen to and stream and get your content. Number one, it has a high perceived value. People think it is worth a lot. Number two, it's unique. It's not something they've seen before. For example, here was a direct mail piece selling a newsletter on financial privacy. And instead of offering like a bonus report, they offered, if you subscribe to the newsletter, they would give you a free private Swiss bank account. So, that was unique. That hadn't been seen before. And it worked really well. It got a lot of attention. Relevant. It's relevant of the brand. The brand is this expert telling you how to get offshore financial privacy. And what's the symbol of that? What's the icon of that? For decades, it was a Swiss bank. Now it might be, bank in the Cayman Islands, but that's the kind of thing. Swiss bank, Luxembourg bank. So that, it was relevant to the brand. Desired. people wanted this Swiss bank account because not necessarily for the financial privacy, although some did, because it was like a bragging point. People love to, at gatherings, when they're talking, try a little one-upsmanship and say, oh, well, we keep funds in an offshore Swiss bank account. It's prestigious. It's a bragging point. People like that. Easy. The content is easy to get, risk-free. You're not charging for it. And if I send for your, if I send for whatever you're offering, there's no obligation or commitment for me to do anything further. For example, I saw an ad in Parade magazine offering, it said free book on some health thing. I forget what it was. And it sounds like it's easy and free, but, or they said free book, but then when you called the number, the toll-free number, they asked for your credit card. You say, why? They said, well, it's just for shipping and handling. If you're telling me something's free, you're not asking for cash or credit card. So you got to be accurate and honest. In that case, it's risk-free, but it's not free. And fast. Today, we're used to instant delivery. In the old days, we'd say you'll wait 3 to 5 weeks for your report. Now people want it instantly, digitally. Now, here's the information hierarchy. What information is the most valued? Again, data is the lowest. It's just numbers, statistics. Information is a step up. It's content, but it's a commodity. What people will pay more for or pay more attention to or value more is analysis. What does this information mean? Above that is when the content writer has knowledge, deep knowledge of the subject and can speak from an expert perspective, such as perhaps I'd rather read an article about dialysis from a kidney patient or I forget what doctors, a renal specialist, I forget the name of the doctors that do kidneys, than from a freelance writer. And wisdom is the highest level where not only do you have knowledge, but you have the capacity to give correct advice and make good decisions. So how do you convert content requests into sales leads? Well, here I'm offering a handbook. It's a PDF, it's like 100, 120 pages of information on business-to-business marketing. And people want to download it, but I don't want to give away free information for my health. So how do you turn download requests for this into qualified sales leads? You create a landing page like this one. And this is, if you get one thing out of today, take this slide. It is a model that has been proven over and over again for information downloads. Normally you just see, you click on a link and there's a picture of the white paper and it says click here to open the PDF or click here to download. You're just giving away information. You're not generating a qualified lead. But here, look on the right, that's the secret. There's 3 options. Option 1, free copy of the B2B handbook. Option 1 is send me the free content. So they're somewhat interested, but they're not exactly a qualified lead. Option 2 is send me information, a brochure, a catalog, product fact sheets on the service or product that you sell. Now they're a much more qualified lead because they said, I'm interested in what you do or what you sell. And the third one is either call me to discuss, how you can help me or give me an estimate. If someone checks that box off, they are a highly qualified prospect, and they're worth the attention. So if they check the second or third box, they're a good lead. If they only check the first box and say, just give me the free stuff, well, a lot of people like to just collect free stuff. it's not as good or not as qualified a prospect, and you plan your follow-up accordingly. So you notice the report here that, this is another one we give away, and we put in the upper right corner of the front cover, like we did with the other one, a dollar figure. Why? Because people judge the perceived value when you tell them the perceived value. If you sent this blank, they'd say it's just, it's just a PDF. But if you send it, it says $29, $29 in the upper right corner, you can say in your marketing, respond now, and we'll give you a free special report that with a value or list price or cover price of $29. And again, that goes back to those characteristics. It has a higher perceived value. Now, we know that a lot of that it's easy to just put a price on something and say that's the value. Here's a better technique. If you're using PDF content like special reports as bonuses, I also take my free content, the stuff I give away, and I put it on a page of my website or the client's website in a shopping cart. And here, people can actually buy it for the price in the upper right corner. That way, you can say in your copy, this special report, which is yours free, is worth $29. And that's not just a price we're making up and pasting on the cover. We sell it on our website for that every week of the year. It's more believable. So this is a good way to prove the value of your content, that people actually pay for it, and they do. Titles that sell. Here are some popular title conventions for content pieces, white papers, ebooks. First, the list. Example, the top 7 security problems of 802.11 wireless networks. People like lists. They become very popular today. The term now is listicle for an article written as a list. When I first started using list articles in the 80s, they weren't done that often, and it stood out more, but they still work today. The next one is to use an active verb ending in ing. So managing large Unix data centers. It has a ring to it, and it promises to teach you something. Now, if you're going to make a statement, let's say you don't believe in Six Sigma, and you want to say Six Sigma doesn't work, add the word why in front of it. Why Six Sigma doesn't work. That arouses curiosity. Then there's the colon, where you give the title sort of a sexy, maybe sexy is the wrong word, sort of a flair, and then the subtitle describes exactly what it is. So defending the remote office, a little drama, which virtual private network technology is best, subhead. How to have always been magic words. They've always worked, and I doubt that it will ever stop working. How to prevent machine parts from failing prematurely, which was a content piece I wrote for a maker of machine oil. Then what is also arouses curiosity, because you want to find out, well, what is it? And this is something we did for a company that makes gears. And the owner told me, he said, we make gears and our buyers are mechanical engineers, and they should have learned this in engineering school, but they didn't. They don't know anything about gears. We got to teach them. So our headline was, for the content piece, was what engineering school didn't teach you about gear design. It was very effective because it was true. They knew they had to know it, and they knew they hadn't been taught it. Schools fall down, mechanical engineering curriculum don't cover gears well. Next. So all this shows, I won't dwell on it, is that when you're doing marketing, if you are featuring or emphasizing in your marketing branding and making the offer, the content offer, secondary or hiding it or small, and your piece is mainly about the branding, you get far less response versus if you focus on the content offer, get this, get this, get this, and then support the brand either in the offer copy or in the content itself, you do much better. And you can put your content, if it's electronic, on a page where someone has to, like we looked at for the page that turns inquiries into prospects, giving away that business marketing handbook. We put a gate, we call that a gate. And when you gate content, you get far fewer leads and downloads, but you capture response and you can turn them into almost immediately qualified prospects. When you don't gate it, people can just click on it and open a PDF immediately without giving you their name or their email address. You get many more responses, many more leads, well, many more people downloading. I shouldn't have said leads, but you don't get any of their information, which to me is, as a direct marketer, is, goes against the grain for me. And again, feature the offer in your marketing, 10 times higher response. Feature the brand over the offer, 10 times lower response. One technique for content offers is to position part of your product as a premium or free content. This was for selling a course for Novell network administrators, and it was a big binder and a lot of reference material. But it says at the top, yours free, 5 powerful programs to help you manage your Novell network. That wasn't the product. That was the bonus. The course came in a binder, and it came. This was pre-streaming. It came with a disc with 5. They really were shareware programs, but that would help you manage a Novell network. And by that allowed us to say yours free. The product wasn't free, but the bonus was free, and it really was free because we said, hey, if we'll send you the product. If you don't like it, you return it and you keep the disc. Because what does a disc cost? $1 or whatever. So this was a double the response of the previous promotion, which focused on the product rather than the free content premium. We talk about stories. This is selling a book I have or an ebook on public relations, and I tell a story in it about when my son, this is many years ago, was young. I don't know if you remember the Gigapets, those little pocket pets that kids took care of. And I told the story of how he dropped his in the toilet and started to cry. And so being a good dad, I stuck my hand in the toilet and fished it out. And this story was very effective. In fact, this got to one of the major daily papers in New Jersey, where I live. And that Sunday, I pulled out the feature section, and the front page of the feature section was all about this story. They picked it up, and they'd actually come to my office and interviewed me and looked at where we put so people like stories, but don't believe when people say you always have to have a story. Stories are not the core of content. They are one effective technique. There are many others. So don't go overboard as some people do with story. Use it if it works. Use it if you're good at it. If you don't, or it doesn't work, don't use it. Here's one. There's a 4S formula for clear writing. And it's simple, and this will help you make your content crisp, easier to read, simple, what people like to read. The 4S is short sections, short paragraphs, short sentences, and small words. And in judging sentences, we use the breath test. We say, read your sentence out loud. If you run out of breath before you get to the end of the sentence, it's too long. And the solution is you find in the sentence where a new thought begins and you break it into 2 sentences. Very simple method, very effective, the breath test. Here is an item in my e-newsletter. People love tips. They love tips, which are short tidbits of how-to information. And this is a tip on how to make a great elevator speech when you're networking. So instead of saying, I'm a financial planner, you ask me what I do, and I say I'm a financial planner, I would say, for example, well, do you know how lots of divorced women are overwhelmed with the responsibility of dealing with their finances? What I do is provide safe investment opportunities so they can stop worrying and get their lives back on track. So, it gets, it's much better. It focuses on the prospect. It leads with a point of self-interest. It establishes empathy and my authority. And then it stresses the benefit, not the feature or the actual service. So how and what I do is a very good way to formulate an elevator pitch. And when I put this tip in my newsletter, we got a flood of response to it. People love great tips. So tips are a very short and effective form of content and can be used in a lot of places. Here's another idea to you. What I do in a lot of my landing pages where we're selling items, or in websites, where we're selling items, e-commerce sites, we put sidebars with some useful content in them. And then we send out an email to drive traffic and say, hey, if you click here and you go to this page, the sales page for this product we're selling you, you'll get a free content. Here you'll get your free viral marketing tip of the week. And the thing is, if someone, just by reading your website or your promotion, your promotional copy says, I learned something, then they'll be much more inclined to buy from you and think of you as a benefactor and a useful resource. Let's go to the next. And this is just an example of how on a landing page in the right column, we put the whole free viral marketing tip. So again, someone goes to this page, and even if they don't buy the product, they've learned something, which really helps raise your star in their eyes. This is curated content, a little technique. I took this article, Now Business Strategist Dan Waldschmidt offers these 6 tricks, and I reprinted it. And it basically is like almost exactly as it appeared in his newsletter. I just put it in mine, but then I added an intro that just came from memory. One of my favorite quotations is from Ben Franklin, who said, people who are good at making excuses are seldom good at anything else. And then the article leads into the article about stop making excuses. So I'm taking his content, but I curated it with something I had and enhanced it. If you want, chapter 2 of my content marketing handbook is a complete course, mini course in how to write compelling content with a lot of detail. And if you go to that website, you can download the chapter for free, and there's nothing to buy. You don't have to pay. You won't be sold anything. So if you want to get a white chapter is like equivalent of a couple of white papers. If you want to get a white paper on how to write compelling content, you can get it for free at the site bly.com/content handbook. So I want to thank you for your attention. Enjoyed speaking to you, and I wish you the best.
Hey, so that's great. For people who have been listening to this talk from Robert, I think that just in the last couple minutes to give you guys some action items and give you guys some good, great takeaways. I think that clearly Robert has shared a wide range of experience. And I think one thing that was interesting was, for me personally, was really looking at the different modes of learning and the different modes of communicating, because a lot of writers don't necessarily remember that when you're writing. So one thing I would recommend for you who's listening to this talk is really just write down modes of learning, modes of absorbing information. And when you're writing your content, you can actually use different types of language. You can use visual language, you can use auditory language, you can use storytelling type language, which is a little bit experiential, right? Put them into the seat. And so there's a lot there in that one idea of really connecting with your readers, connecting with your clients through these different modes. And that's a really powerful one key principle, I think, amongst many. And the other thing I thought that was really powerful that I really liked a lot was, there's quite a lot of different things, but I really loved seeing this chart where we have the gated and ungated, et cetera, right? There was 4 different types: gated, ungated, offer, and brand. And I think what's nice about this chart is that it really clarifies that as a writer, you don't have to try to do everything with every article, right? And as you communicate with your clients, you can educate them that the articles and the content can be utilized in different ways. And so I think one of the challenges that writers have is that they try to take every single article and do everything with every article. And if they can clarify with their client, why don't we utilize this article to, for example, build the brand, which may mean that we get a lower, a lower actually conversion rate, but we're building a long-term trust. We're maybe getting more people who are seeing it, and we're building a longer-term trust. So that chart to tell writers that every article doesn't have to do everything, and there's at least 4 different ways to position how your article can help your client, puts you in a different relationship with your client. So you're not just creating content. You're actually strategically helping your client understand this one's going to be an offer, driving an offer. This one could be something they have to actually, it's gated, so they have to actually provide some information. And even on that, there's some additional subtle things that we'll talk about maybe in a future talk about having check boxes and so on. So the client, the potential buyer can self-identify how interested they are. So those are just 2 or 3 quick nuggets from the talk that as a listener to the conference and a listener to this talk, you can write down and take away and take action on and engage with us in the discussion. And I want to say thank you to Robert for being a speaker and being part of the conference.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, awesome. So we'll see you guys in the next few minutes when the next talk is coming up. Make sure you are available, and we'll see you soon. See you in the next talk. Bye, guys.